We are here today to judge which magic color is the bag of suck. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. Welcome to my magic legal court. Yes, that sounds good. My magic legal court. We are here today to discuss which color is the suck baggiest when it comes to Magic the Gathering, specifically in Standard. Now, we kind of have definitive information about this to a degree by using Arena. How we're going to do this is we're going to use the information provided by the Dominarian Standard Shakeup to determine, in fact, which is the suck baggiest color in Magic the Gathering Standard currently. The reason that we're going to use this is because Wizards of the Coast has access to an unprecedented amount of information through Arena in knowing what are the strongest decks, what are pulling off the best finishes, and what cards are mathematically showing up the most frequently in each of the colors, in each of the tournament high-level meta decks. So it seems like a useful way to determine who's the worst. So for those of you who don't know, the Dominarian Standard Shakeup is an event that starts tomorrow. And how it works is the little flavor blurb says, now this is the place where legends are born. If you want to make a name for yourself in the multiverse, Dominaria is definitely the place to start, or destroy. Either way, your visit here is promised to be one for the history books. And I judge myself to have the hiccups, apparently. But the show must go on. Oh, order in the courtroom. Damn, I love having a hammer. So, the Dominarian Standard Shakeup is meant to be an event where Wizards of the Coast is trying to encourage lesser brews. Or, you know what? Lesser brews isn't the way to look at it. More creative brews, less entirely power-based brews. Basically, the idea behind it is they're going to ban a bunch of cards from this event. So the idea is they've looked at all the powerful decks and they've decided to ban the most powerful cards in Standard in an attempt to foster creativity and create a new class of decks, at least for this event. Now, I'm sure there are going to be deck lists posted in Magic Arena groups and stuff going, here's the powerhouse group deck that I've built for this event. So most likely you'll still see people copying them, and there will be a new category of the best decks for this event. Now, that being said, this new meta only exists for 3 days, so there's not that much time to solve the meta, and on top of that, there's not that much incentive to solve the meta, because you just need to win 6 games to get yourself a full art land. So overall, the incentives aren't really there to be like, I'm gonna build the most powerful deck and hone and tweak it. It's just make a deck that's good enough. Now that we've got the background information out of the way, let us go over the list of the different cards that have been banned, and we will pick the suck baggiest color based on numbers. It'll be a strictly numbers game here, all right? So, starting out with the monocolored cards, and then we will move into multicolored cards. Now, I will include any colorless cards in the monocolored card category. Now, I don't feel the need to put the card images into this video because everybody's familiar with what's going on in Standard. Almost everybody knows these cards. These are the cards you will have seen the absolute most frequently in Standard. And if you're watching a video on the suck baggiest cards in Standard, more than likely you're familiar with the cards in Standard. So let's start out with white. We've got Benalish Marshall and History of Benalia. Both 3-cost white cards. One is a 3/3 that gives all your other creatures +1/+1, and the other is a card that makes 2 night tokens, and then for a turn boosts all your knights by +2/+1. Interesting to note that they're both 3-cast cards. Those are the 2 white cards that have been given the boot. There are 2 blue cards that have been given the boot, Curious Obsession and Brineborn Cutthroat. Now it's interesting to note that the power level for blue is situated in the uncommons. There's some interesting patterns here. The white cards both had 3 casting cost. The blue cards are actually both uncommons. Curious Obsession is an enchantment that you play on one of your creatures. Whenever the creature damages your opponent, you get to draw a card. It's funny how I said I wasn't going to put the cards up on the screen, and yet I still feel the need to explain them. Order! I demand consistency with your ridiculousness. Either you say that they know the cards or you don't. And why am I talking to myself like it's you? I'm having an identity crisis here. It must be this wig. It's cooking my brain. It's hot here. I hope you appreciate what I'm going through for you people. Appreciate me. Put your appreciative comments in the comment section. Join my Patreon and my channel memberships. I judge you worthy to give me money. All right, continuing onwards, we've got Boren Cutthroat. Now, this guy is a new card. He's just shown up recently, but he's already proven his power. 2 mana gets you a 2/1, but the catch is every time you cast a spell during your opponent's turn, you put a +1/+1 counter on him, and he's got flash, so you can even put him out on your opponent's turn. Not too shabby. I was kind of surprised to see him on the list, but I guess he's made enough of a splash recently that Wizards felt the need to put him on the list. Originally, when they announced this event about a month ago, they had a different banned list, but they updated it based on what was ripping up the meta currently. After that, we've got Sorin, Imperious Bloodlord. Now, it's kind of interesting to see him on this list because he is a very vampire-centric planeswalker. He boosts vampires, he lets you sack vampires, and he brings vampires back from the graveyard. Now, admittedly, you can use his +1 ability on a non-vampire creature, but it's fairly lackluster. So it's interesting to note that a vampire deck is only too strong if it has Sorin in it. All right, so Sorin's the only black one, the only pure black card we've got on the list. Moving on, we've got what clearly is the dominant color in Standard right now, and that's red. Everybody knows the blazingly fast Red Dead smack you upside the head deck. So red has Arclight Phoenix band, Goblin Chain Whirler band, Light Up the Stage band, Rekindling Phoenix band, and Runaway Steam Kin. So we've got rares, mythic rares, and uncommons getting the banhammer. Arclight Phoenix is a 3/2 hasty Phoenix for 4 mana that actually comes back from your graveyard if you manage to cast 3 instants or sorceries in the same turn. Goblin Chain Whirler is an absolute punisher. 3 mana for a 3/3 first striker that does 1 damage to every creature your opponent controls and your opponent as well. That's brutal. Light Up the Stage is incredible card draw for red, and a card, in all honesty, I see just growing in value and becoming more attractive over the years, as Light Up the Stage has very little in the way of downside. Yes, you do eventually have the cards exiled out of your ability to use them, but you have plenty of time to cast the spells, and the fact that you can cast it for a spectacle cost makes Light Up the Stage incredibly strong. Then we've got Rekindling Phoenix. Interesting to note, 2 Phoenixes, the 2 mythic Phoenixes, have both been given the banhammer. Now, Rekindling Phoenix is 4 mana for a 4/3. Whenever it gets taken out, it basically turns into a 0/1 token, and then that token turns back into the Phoenix. So again, both Phoenixes have the problem that they can recur and come back, which makes sense for a Phoenix rising from the ashes, right? So they've been banned. And then you have Runaway Steam Kin, and anybody who's played with or against Runaway Steam Kin knows why this is on the list. Runaway Steam Kin is responsible for brutally explosive turns where you can crack insane amounts of spells out. You can grow it into a big creature, smash with it, and then cast a bunch of spells with it. It grows, it provides mana and speed. It is a really, really potent card for 2 mana. I remember when it first came out, it felt severely undervalued, but over time, people have seen the power of it, and it's stuck around. Next, we're moving into green, and how dare they? How dare they ban any green cards? Green is the purest part of Magic. Green is godliness, all right? So, Nissa Who Shakes the World is banned. I can't blame them for that. And Wild Growth Walker. It's interesting to know that they just decided to ban the Walker. I guess the Walker is what makes Explore decks too gross and lets that Citadel combo where you basically feed a bunch of Explore creatures into your graveyard and then bring them back feel too strong. So Wild Growth Walker is a beefcake in terms of it growing and giving you a bunch of life whenever you explore. Nissa's an insane powerhouse, honestly. 5 mana for a planeswalker that doubles all the mana your forest produces, makes your lands into 3/3 vigilance creatures, which is gross, while also untapping a land and accelerating you. And then when you get to the ultimate, lets you pull every land out of your deck. That's crazy times. Nissa is really strong. I can see why she caught the banhammer. Now we have our only colorless card that's caught the hammer, and that is Field of the Dead. Now, Field of the Dead, on the surface of it, you go, wait, Field of the Dead? I mean, you have to have 7 different named lands. You have to have 7 different variations of lands out for this card to even do anything. And then, all it does is when you put out a land, make a 2/2 zombie. Why is this thing banned? Well, it's banned because of stuff like scape shift shenanigans, where people sack all their lands, go get a bunch of lands, including the Field of the Dead, and generate a huge amount of zombie tokens in one turn. So to nerf scape shift, they have gone, you know what? Off with Field of the Dead's head for this event. That's what they've done. Now, we move in to the multicolored area, and we're starting off with white-blue. Now, white-blue is 2 cards, and they're both Teferi. Surprise, surprise, the oppressive Teferis have actually been given the banhammer. Teferi is so oppressive that there is literally a website dedicated to counting down the time until Teferi rotates out. Literally, until Teferi rotates out of standard. There is literally a countdown timer. I will insert it right here. Let us all spend a few seconds of our life enjoying the idea of Teferi getting removed. Now, adorably, they've gone ahead and done a play on F Teferi, and now it's T Teferi, Tuck Teferi. If you take a look at the actual address bar for the web address, you will see that it's Tuck Teferi. I think that's cute. I think that's funny. I don't know who originally came up with the concept, but Tuck Teferi's going around. But having a website dedicated to counting down until Teferi goes away, it makes sense. The Teferi planeswalkers are very oppressive control planeswalkers, and I'm honestly happy to see them get the boot. I absolutely hate playing against the Teferis. I hate them. Speaking of cards I hate, Thought Erasure is on that list as well, because for some reason, it's blue-black, by the way, since we're talking colors. For some reason, people who play black-blue control and white-blue control are the slowest people on Earth. You will be playing against Arena, and someone will take forever, and then choose to play an island and do nothing. You're like, how did that take a minute? How did it take a minute for you to decide to play an island? Then they get to the next turn, and they play a swamp. And then they play Thought Erasure. And your never-ending torment begins as they spend forever staring at your cards, going, is this what a normal Magic player plays with? Is this what an unbroken Magic player plays with? When you're playing, what are these cards? And so they have to sit there and read every card before they decide what they're going to make you discard. And then they need to spend another full minute deciding whether they're going to leave the Surveil card on top of the deck or put it in the graveyard. If you're not smart, don't play black-blue. Don't play it slowly. It's bad enough you're trying to stop me from playing Magic. Don't play slowly. Judgment has been rendered. All right, I hate playing against blue control decks. It is the most tedious nonsense. In real life, it's fine. On Arena, my life is just being sucked away, and I hate it. Moving on, we've got Feather. Feather's been making waves recently. Feather's deck is pretty strong. Something that's strong enough to actually take on like the Risen Reef decks and other nonsense that's running around. Feather is a 3-mana, 3/4 flyer that lets you reuse your instants and sorceries that target your own stuff. And there is a lot of use people are getting out of Feather and Dreadhorde Arcanist together. So Feather has been put on the banned list for white-red, and it makes perfect sense. It's a very strong card, enabling a very strong deck currently. Moving on, we've got green-blue. So for green-blue, we have 2 cards. We have Hydroid Krasis, the beefcake flyer that lets you draw cards and gain life, which honestly doesn't really feel green-blue, but fits really, really well into green-blue. And then we have one of the worst offenders, Risen Reef. This card is so unfair. It's so good. 1 green, 1 blue, 1 colors for a 1/1, but its ability is where the power is, man. Anytime an elemental comes out, including the Risen Reef, you get to look at the top card of your deck. If it's a land, you can put it straight into play. Otherwise, it goes into your hand. The card advantage that Risen Reef gives you is dirty busted. It's just dirty. So, when we total up the cards, the colors, we have a clear winner in terms of red being the most dominant color based on monocolors. It's tied for the most dominant color when you also, oh, no, actually, sorry. When you bring in multicolored, red actually loses by 1 point and blue becomes the most dominant. Unsurprising to see blue topping the charts. So if you weight monocolor as the heaviest, then red's the winner. If you weight multicolor as the heaviest, blue is the winner. And then after that, you've got white and green end up being tied, and black languishes far, far in the back. You've got one mono black card and one multicolored card that involves black. And that means that black is the most suckified color in Magic Standard right now. Black is the most garbo color to play in Magic the Gathering. And if you've ever watched Mono Black's Magic channel and you've wondered why he doesn't only make mono black decks, it's because deep down he knew he would have to change his channel name to Mono Suck Magic, and he doesn't want to do that, right? So go on over to Mono Black's Magic channel and let him know the Magic Historian knows his secret. Just say that. Just say the Magic Historian has exposed you in his most recent video. You hear that, Mono Sucks Magic? I may like your videos, but I know the truth about your love, all right? We all know the blacks are the worst in Whoa, 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 whoa. I judge myself guilty of unintentional, untrue racism. We gotta get out of here. They're gonna take me to prison. I know the color of my skin. Oh, I'm going to jail for that one, boys. It's all over. Well, for the final time, I want to thank my patrons and channel members. Thank you guys, and goodbye forever.